Hello, welcome to this level 3 video within my energetic system series. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks, and this segment of videos I have created in order to dissect and talk about systems, energetic transactions at a generic level so that people, myself included, can become more aware and more consciously a part of all of the interactions that we are part of on all the levels, day to day. Because when we can move through these systems and be a part of all of these transactions consciously as conscious creators, using our infinite intelligence to navigate our lives, the benefits are unlimited, and they are so prevalent in my life that I created this entire series to help others and help myself along in the journey of learning more about these systems that are us and how we interact with them and how they all follow basic templates of working. They all require tools in order to process energies, and that they're all doing kind of the same circulatory, eternal process of balancing energy, of moving through. And if you're interested in kind of the purpose and the foundational stuff, or about the tools and how the torus is actually an energetic tool that we use, and that sort of is us and used by us, but is also us, I talk a lot about that in level 1 and 2. Here at level 3, we are going to be using the knowledge base of the tools and looking at ourselves as a system and how our processes work, and use those tools and how we process, maintain, store, and use our own energy, and how that creates the overall toroidal reality bubble energetic thing that we are, that encompasses your reality, right? Or my reality. So that's my little preamble here at the beginning, to just coax anybody who is new here into maybe watching some previous videos to get a more firm foundation about what I'm going to talk about. These videos here at the start of level 3 for the inner systems. I have a welcome video and a long lecture video, sort of a synopsis about where we're going. So those will be in the descriptions or in the comments if people want to check back at that to see where we're at. But here we're just at the first foundational piece of the 3 we're going to cover, of the systems within. So when we look at ourselves as a whole, I have said, right, we're going to break ourselves into these 3 parts, mind, body, and spirit, and look at how they are systems of their own. And when we designate our attention in this way, and we turn our lens at one specific portion of this triad that makes up the whole of you, it's so important and crucial that we remember at the start. Perspective is everything, right? And to remember that, yes, we're diving into the segment of the body, and we're going to look at it as a whole system, sort of separate on its own, as its own piece. And it really does function on its own. It really is a reality all of its own, and there is some parameters and limits set that coagulate this and hold a sacred boundary of the body in its own world and workings, and that's what we're going to focus on. But it's also an equal part of 3 that make up this complete portion of you that is the whole of the multiverse that is you, that is also this different sacred boundary that conscious creator consciousness early in the morning for me, trying to squeeze these videos in before homeschooling, and I'm feeling rushed. Sorry. But, and as we speak, here comes my son. Just a minute longer, honey. Creator consciousness, right, defines a boundary around you that makes you you, or makes me me. And we don't need to worry about the hows and the whys of all of that kind of in this video, but just to understand that that's what is happening here. And that's the truth that we can see and observe. So we're just going to work within the limits of that and understand that these sacred boundaries are set. There's this structure, a real architecture on many levels, solid form, 3D, 4D thought forms, and 5D more energetic frequency. All of these layers all come together. And none are more important than the other. So as we are zooming in, we're going to focus on the body right now. Just know that it plays a harmonics in the building of the whole of you. And it does have its own role in that triad. The body in itself is this more external, service-oriented, 3D focused of the three of the triad. And then we have the mind and the spirit, and they hold their own vibrations of inner and the flow, right? We have the inner of the mind, and we have the flow, the Mobius, the spirit, the thing that's harder to pin down, right? All of those come together to create you, and all of them are equally important. And we're doing the same thing every time we look at a system. So just like we've broken ourself into three, mind, body, and spirit, internal, external, and flow, right, is important to understand. Yeah, we'll get into the others. I won't give too many comparisons, but yeah, that's the three. When we look at the body now, we're going to look at it and we focus our intention on the system as a whole. Now it's not just that third external representation available at the first layer in view. Now we're zooming in our lens into the body, and the body becomes the whole system. And that body boss becomes that creator consciousness whole. And we can see how that body actually has its own inner, external, and flow, three triad representation of workings and layers within it that actually will come together and to create the appearance of the body. And simultaneously, the mind and the spirit will do the same thing when we get into those videos. The other thing I want to underline before I really get into specifics on the body is just that when we do this kind of diving in, and we look through the lens of creator consciousness, what I am intending to remind myself of, and what I hope to remind others of with this, is the gaze, the change of frequency, or the altering of intention and attention coming together when we're looking inwards at something. And this has to do with unconditional love, acceptance for as is, just seeing things for what they are, and being like, okay, that's what it is what it is. It's part of my data set on the spectrum now that includes all possibilities. Yeah, maybe it's an uncomfortable one. Yeah, maybe it's a negative or dark one. Or maybe conversely, it's a really good one or a bright one. Everything cannot be anchored and tied in. All points in the data set have to be as valuable as all others when we're going to zoom back out to look at the whole of you, right? So it's important to remember the great value of all portions and that they all hold the same placeholder value. Because all units have to come together to make the whole of you, right? So when we start to look at the body and we start to look at the systems, and we are presented with uncomfortabilities, obstacles, catalysts, maybe even actual sickness, disease, traumas, injuries, old, or present, or both. Time is not real, right? There is circular fashion, so it's really past, present, future all together. And when we work to heal in the present, we're actually giving a beautiful gift to the past of allowing release and healing for the past, and we're also building structure, stronger positivity for more healing to be possible in the future when we do this and when we understand how they all do actually work together. It's not just some scientific hoopla out there, rocket scientists only knowledge, experts can only get this kind of thing. It's plain as day, undeniable truths that when we can step into the role of the observer and you tap into your own creator consciousness, it's like, yeah, duh, of course, that makes sense. And we'll get more into this, so if you're having a hard time feeling that or sensing your truth or faith, is a little prickly subject for you, don't worry about that. This is why we're starting with the inner systems, because when we work on our own foundation and we're the one we're supporting, we're holding ourselves up, we're doing the work for, literally for ourselves, it's easy to build confidence and faith. It's easy to stretch that muscle. It's easy to wear in that sweater to comfortability, right? When you're doing it small pieces for yourself over and over again. So that's really been my focus on why we started with the inner systems first, and again, why we're branching into the body first as well, because the body is the most prevalent, most obvious for most of us, no matter what gauge on the spectrum that you have available to you. The body is the most physical form of our experience here. And so, yes, I would like to start with there. And now I've already gone about halfway into the time. So I think it's about time to get into the specifics. Excuse me. So I just have my notes here a little bit to keep myself on track. When we talk about the body, right? First and foremost, let me just go over what I'm talking about. For the body's infinite intelligence, when we can zoom in our lens and sit at the table with the boss here of the body and see what really their playground is, where their affinities and everything are, right? Their role, their world, right? It's important to feel that you're stepping into a whole world. Get your imagination going too. Allow yourself to really sort of visualize it. Make it your own, because it is you. It is your own. So the body's boss really oversees the physical vessel, of course. And so the physical vessel is the anatomy, physiology, right? It's the structure. It's the physical muscles, bone, the organs, the hair, it's into, even when you want to get into the molecules and the things that make up those, the cells, right, that make up the bone, the osteoclasts and red blood cells and white blood cells and the heart cells and muscle cells, and we have, lipids and fat tissues, and we have all these different forms and layers within us of all of these different varieties of life that come together to make up the boundaries of our physicality. And they come together in beautiful workings. And there's scientific and jargon and descriptions and observations that are all about this realm, that are really 3D, and those can be helpful, but they're not necessary, and they're all actually already known to us, because you have age-long memories of the building of your body. You, within every cell, have the structure, the code, the instructions, blueprint, architecture, whatever you want to look at that as, written in every single one. Every single one has the capacity to tap into that and read that. And within their spiritual layer, they have the ladder and the cord and the anchor to the next layer, above and below. And they can pass up that knowledge above and below. So your cells can pass up that knowledge to the organ that it works with, or the muscle that it's working with. And that boss can pass that information up to the major organ system, or through the central nervous system, or through some sort of impulse, right? Muscle testing works a lot like this. If you want to get into the kinetic, kinesiology sort of subconscious mind, where they ask the body questions and wait for those impulses for replies, you can look into that, and that's a well-researched body of scientific knowledge there if you need that to anchor into. But that is your infinite intelligence, your body speaking out to the mind and the spirit, and then to the whole, and being able to coagulate and send the message up the chain of command through the lenses and bosses. And we all have the capacity to do that, but you have to build the language. You have to take the time to sit and listen and learn the language. And then you have to be able to have the capacity, attention, and intention to dive in. From the bosses, you learn the bosses' language, you learn how they speak to the managers. Then you learn the managers and how they work, and you listen to them and their language, and you learn about their tasks and what they're overseeing. And then that builds out definition underneath the managers. You start to see the scope of the workers, and you see these different jobs workers are all in charge of. And you start to see A, B, and C type of workers perhaps. And through the language and time and coming back and creating more clarity for yourself through more data points, more conversations and communication with those managers, the tasks of the workers become more apparent. Then the workers get to know you. Through creative consciousness, you can gaze with unconditional love like a loving manager and go have conversations then with the workers and see where the workers are bothered at or where the workers are doing well at. And they will feel love and attention from creator consciousness down the chain. They know they're being paid attention to, just like when you know you're being watched. You know you've been felt. You feel spirit around you. You feel God watching you. You feel yourself inside yourself, knowing you're paying attention to yourself. When you do inner child work, when you work with your higher self, if you've done light and shadow work at any capacity. But when you do the work sitting with the boss of the body, this is what you're doing, and you're giving your attention and intention. That creates purpose and meaning. That creates the more definitions. It's like seeing a blurry picture for a while or hearing a language you don't understand for a while. Slowly and slowly, not a blurry picture, but a very busy picture, say. But could be blurry, but anyways. But as you look longer, the more you see. As you listen longer, the more you understand the words, and you start to put chains together, and you start to have memories and connections, and it builds out the knowledge base. And once the knowledge points are really built out and you have a purpose, you can dive into the workers. And then you know why the workers are doing it. Their job becomes really distinct, actually. And you see, actually, it's not A grouping of workers doing this kind of busy work and B doing this kind of, and actually you get into A and you see, wow, there's A through C, D, E, F, G actually happening just within A here. And wow, I can get to know all of the workers, and they have lives and purposes and families, and I can see their problems and help them. And actually they're managing two people underneath them who help them with their work. They have secretaries themselves. And this is the kind of thing that you'll learn and we get into. And it's a metaphor, but it's also literal. So as we sit down with the body, to bring this into a more specific metaphor with the body's boss, right? When we go to sit down at the table of the body, a lot of times what's going to come up first is going to be uncomfortabilities. Either pains, physical sensations of pain, whether it's just uncomfortable, I'm sitting in a position for too long, or it's uncomfortable pains of thoughts that are annoying me, whatever it could be, or it's distractions that are irritating me. Maybe you have chronic things that really, or an old injury that bothers you. You know, all of these little things are kind of excuses, these little prickly points that are going to pop up at the start. Especially because the body's boss main focus is sensory input. It is all of any data that's coming from the body, right? So be mindful of that and be prepared for that. You have to come at it with unconditional love as an honest service, an intention to help heal, to not just go and feel the pain, to poke at an old wound and scrape it open and watch it bleed and cry for it and make it worse, and then say, oh, woe is me, and maybe show others about it or something. It's about going at it to help it heal. It's about going to clean out the pieces that need to be the dirt, the debris that needs to be taken out of it, pulling that old thorn out and sending love and light and healing, showing it and telling it you're going to keep it clean and following through with that, and allowing it, you know, to have that whatever, maybe extra nutrients or salve or some kind of medicinal thing that it needs. But when you look at it and you see it and you pull it out and you assess the damage, then you can tell and use other knowledge points to see what type of healing it needs. That's what you're going at it, to see what kind of healing it needs, to find the path of least resistance through the most harmonious solutions for all involved. And of course it's you, and it's a wound within you or a trauma or a hurt within you, so of course you want all involved. You want the best for your whole. Even those parts of you that were damaged or hurt or you feel guilty or shameful about, anything like that. To come at them from a place of, I see you, I feel for you, let's find a better way through now. What have we learned from this? What have you gained from that? Look how strong you can become after we heal. The work we can do for others to help them heal, to make it through, because this isn't killing you. It's not the end of your life, because look, you're still here. It's still a conversation. It's still present moment in the here and now space. So clearly there's work to be done. So yeah, just that kind of cautionary underlying sort of motivation for people, especially when we talk about the body. I'm going to do, after we get through mind, body, and spirit, sort of these more foundational pieces, I will have walk-through guided meditations on certain things about healing physical issues and getting in touch with each of the bosses and stuff. We'll see where that kind of information takes me, but that will be presented after. But here, just for a couple of practical points at the end, that we can start to get in touch with the body, right? Start to communicate with the body, the boss of your body. Of course, there's the meditative fashion, and you can lay down, you can sit in a comfortable position. Of course, you can get traditional and sit cross-legged on the floor if that works for you. Or you can practice at that and do that once in a while, and when it gets uncomfortable, switch your position. You know, you don't have to jam yourself into a traditional setup to get results. Do what feels good to you. And that can be your mantra, you know, through this whole working. And of course, with these sort of more mentally focused practices, internal workings, these the internal processes, you can practice things like the body scan technique, where you start at your toes or at your head, and you just imagine and visualize your body from head to toe, slowly going over each, building it up in your memory, seeing what it looks like to you, feeling around the outline of every toe, feeling every crevice, feeling through your foot and your ankle, up your legs, all that jazz. Really spend time with it and allow yourself to see yourself with your eyes closed, right? Witnessing that. And you can do quick ones, you can do really slow, you can also do this with more of an intention of healing. If something is really bothering you, right, you can zoom into a certain system or area that is bothering you and witness it and see how it's bothering you. And you'll be surprised that the information impulses, these either pictures or impressions or just feelings, these emotions that come through, they're like, oh wow. Go with those, hear those for what they are, and take them as valuable information. Add them to that data set, like I said. Don't over amplify them and don't undervalue them. They all get stored in the data set equally. Take them in and log them. And then later we'll do integration and processing. But when you're doing body scanning, when we're just dipping our toe in here, let's just add them to the data set, and we'll work on integration when you feel like you're feeling full or overflowing with information. You can also get into more visual moving meditations. I do a couple of those, and I'll link some of those in my channel, about visualizing momentum and movement. Really helpful for anybody who's an actual athlete or ever was an athlete. Really fun to get in touch with the more sort of childlike meditations, to envision flying or soaring or running super fast or swimming. Speed and that kind of freeness is such a wonderful body experience to get into and allow yourself to explore with. There's other more physical things that you can do to get in touch with the body too. If you have a lot of traumatic things, like I came from a more sort of blocked off, disassociated sort of traumatic avenues, and so I had a lot of, and I still work through a lot of body things. And for me, it was very helpful to get into the physicalities, the actual external practices of the body system, moving my real body with exercise, with breath work, with yoga, stretching. And even if you're not athletic, even if you're not fit or flexible or any of those kind of things, maybe you're overweight or you're sick or you suffer from chronic things, I came from a place in space of real victimization with chronic health issues. For a whole decade, I had myself wrapped up into many, many labels and diagnoses and medications and all that jazz. But to break away from that and get out of that and to learn my own way through, to listen to myself in my healing journey, and now to empower myself in health and wellness journeys, these beautiful, small hygienic things that I do for myself, self-love and care, I see the benefits of that. And anybody can do that, no matter where you are on the spectrum of health and wellness. Anybody can do breath work and get in touch with diaphragmatic breathing or conscious breathing. There's so many different kinds of breathing if breath work interests you. Moving with the breath, even if it's arm circles, some gentle neck circles, standing and sitting a couple of times, moving yourself side to side, doing some spinal flex, like very gentle things. Everybody can do that. Everybody can do this and put their arms up and down a couple of times. Small things to get the circulation, the muscle moving. Because remember, these are all parts of you. Your muscles, they have a whole hygienic routine they need to keep themselves active, to keep themselves alive and working, so they know they're a part of the whole body. They know they're a part of a whole. They're working for and recognized by creator consciousness, which is you when we're talking about the inner system, right? When we're talking about you as your body vessel here, you are the whole of the reality. You are the system they are working for. So when you do these little stretches for yourself every day, you take a bit of hygienic care to allow those muscles to stretch a bit and to not get tightened and cramped. And when you eat for them and you drink some water, right, you nourish them, they will respond. Other simple things can be combing the skin for your lymphatic system, or brushing in your circulatory system. So much of the skin, your health and wellness, your skin is your first defense and your first offense. It's the organ that meets everywhere. And so working with the skin and getting down into the manager of your skin's organ system provides huge infinite workings. And you will find and notice the vast body of intelligence and processes that happen with the skin. And yes, combing and things like putting your feet up against a wall or holding your arms up for a little while and shaking so that circulation can flow in the opposite direction of gravity is wonderful. Every day to do a few minutes of that, even 4 minutes here in the morning, 4 minutes at night. Who doesn't have that 2 or 4 minutes that you can't designate to give love to yourself? Tapping is another wonderful thing. If you like, you can look up EFT tapping. That really helped me to get through traumatic things. Or EDMR. Those are more sort of clinical things that are more of like a cognitive behavioral therapies that maybe you might want to talk to an expert about. But you can certainly find guided videos on them. You can do your own research and learn your own ways on that. Those have been helpful for me along the lines. Other aspects of getting into the sort of physical body that I didn't really speak about is about learning your own rhythms for your body, right? Learning your habitual habits, your posture habits, your breathing habits, your walking and standing habits, your eating habits, your going to the bathroom habits. Notice what your routine is and first observe and assess. Don't go making critiques and I got to change X, Y, and Z right away. Just go and watch for a little bit. Notice the cycles and the routines if you can. And then it will show you will show yourself what needs work, where's the low-hanging fruit, what's the path of least resistance, and the ways that we can move through these things to clear them up and to make them more compatible for your overall well-being, right? When you look at those things, remember, you're searching for the path of your highest good. That's what you always want to be aligning yourself with. And bringing these assessments back, I'm at a half an hour, shoot. bringing these assessments back to the original lens that I talked about with duality, positive and negative alignments, and how all of these systems really do work as whole energy producers with this sort of charge and polarity collection happening, a balancing of the energetics of the overall. And with the body's energetics in the overall system, you really want to pay attention to what kind of service and what kind of intentions that you're feeding into yourself, because you can really get into these pity party states of negative liar loops and really victimization of chaining yourself and then confirming the chains and then crying about them, and then being hurt by them and then mourning over the pain and then recycling through all these things again and again. And who wants to do that? Right? Most of us are sick and tired of doing that, hopefully. But yes, so other than, I guess I've talked to you about a half an hour. I'm going to leave it there for now. On the body, we have the mind and spirit that I'll go over next. And I will offer up the infographic here of just the points that I've talked about, how the body, it's an internal, external, and the flow of it, what those workings and processes each look like individually, and also some of the practice points that we can do to sort of work on the internal processes, to gauge them and witness them, and same thing with those external processes, to gauge and witness them. We won't work so much on communion and getting into the flow and polarity yet. I really want to sort of look at the three separately and get a gauge on a feel for those, and then we'll bring it more into how they work all together, and how the flows speak and move together. I just feel like it's a little bit easier for all of us if we do it that way. So thank you so much for sitting with me through this video. I hope you will join me next time, and have a beautiful day or evening wherever in the world you are.